what we're going to do is we're going to talk with T, and she's going to tell us about her book, a start of a new series. It's Tough Justice. And we're really excited that you've joined us tonight, because we always like to start at the beginning, because not everybody is like me and can hop into a series anywhere in there. But all of the books that you've been writing have been with canines, or at least they're police type books. And reading your biography, it kind of makes sense, because you spent at least 23 years as a federal agent. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, thank you for having me. First off, I appreciate the invitation, and I'm very happy to be here. So thank you. So I was kind of a late bloomer. When I went through college, I really floundered and tried to figure out, what I wanted to be when I grew up. And I suppose many people go through that. So at first I was going to be an architect. Then I thought maybe I wanted to be an astronaut. Then I was into geology and geography, because that's where my family history was at. My parents were in the sciences and the doctorate world, and my brother was an engineer. So, you very often people sort of slide into the same routine that their family does. So I tried that, and at some point I took that test in college where it's like 100, fill in the little itty bitty circle with a number 2 pencil, answering 100 questions about what you like, what you don't like, what you think you want to do, what you don't want to do. And of course, mine came back and said I should do something in law enforcement. But still, in college, I bucked it. So I really didn't get into law enforcement until I was in my late 20s. And that just kind of was the sweet spot for me. And that's how it all started. But I didn't start writing right away. It was never in my pipe dream to become an author. I took a couple of creative writing courses in high school, but I never imagined I would be a writer until I read a romance. I think it was a romantic suspense. My boyfriend and I at the time were on vacation in North Carolina, and we always went to this bookstore as soon as we got down there, and we bought some books for the beach. So I'm reading a book on the beach by a very well-named author who shall remain nameless. And I was so disappointed in the book, I literally threw it into the sand. So my boyfriend says to me, T, I've read your reports. You should just write a book of your own. So we went back to the bookstore and bought this nice little purple leather-bound notebook. And together we started outlining a book. And that book has yet to be published. Hopefully someday it will be. It would be the first of yet another series. And ultimately, Burnout was my first published book. And while it's not technically a canine book, there is a retired canine in that book. And that dog is a Belgian sheepdog, which most people don't think of as being a canine. But I don't know if y'all remember back in the day, there was a shooting at LAX in the passenger terminal. I can't remember what year, what decade this was. And I remember all of a sudden seeing this Belgian sheepdog flash up on the screen, and it was a canine by one of the officers at the airport. So they do use them occasionally, even though German Shepherds and Belgian Malinois, golden retrievers for, explosives detection or cadaver recovery are more typical. But every now and then you see this strange breed pop up in the canine world. I've got 2 Belgian sheepdogs at my feet, actually. So that's
and they're being very patient while you talk, which is nice, because my golden retriever has been locked out of the room because she would not be patient through this.
Well, for now, we'll see how it goes.
So this new series, tell us a little bit about Tough Justice and the new series that this is. Like what inspired you to start writing this one?
So take a step back. I had just finished the NYPD Blue and Gold series, and my editor and I were just bouncing around ideas about what to write next. And she said to me, Tia, I see you posting pictures of your dogs on social media all the time. Have you ever thought about writing a canine series? And I totally had not, because one of my biggest professional regrets is that I did not pursue a career as a canine officer or a canine agent. It just never occurred to me, which was the stupidest thing in the world, because now it seems so natural. So the Federal Canine series was born of that conversation. And there will be a total of 7 books in that series. I'm writing the 7th one now. So again, jump ahead now. I'm having the same conversation with my now editor, and we were discussing what to do next. So we talked about a spin-off series. And in, let's see, Federal Canine number 6, which is called Honor and Duty, and that should be coming out in July, you will meet the heroes of the Canine Special Ops series, which is the series that Tough Justice is the first book for. So you'll meet them and you'll get a little bit of introduction, and then Tough Justice and the next 2 books in that series will take place in Colorado, because my publisher said, you're from New York and New Jersey, and that's great, but, can you write intelligently about another city? Let's try and put this someplace else. So I lived in the Denver area for 5 years and worked there. So I felt I could write that city pretty well and the surrounding areas. So Canine Special Ops will all be based in the Denver area. So that's the genesis of that series. And specifically, the genesis of Tough Justice was born of a phone conversation I had with my editor, and we were bouncing around specific ideas for this book. And she was proposing that I write about something that was in the public eye, something that a lot of people could relate to, something that was relevant, to our era. And the opioid crisis was born of that conversation. And as you know, even as of like a week ago, it's still hugely in the news. The opioid crisis is just out of control. And I just heard last week that New York City is receiving something like $125 million from some lawsuit. And that money will go towards combating opioid addiction. So it's very relevant, and that's how we came up with the idea for Tough Justice.
Okay, and what kind of research did you have to do for that? Because I like at least the drug part of it, as well as the because you could tell us a little bit about the hero and the heroine in this one. We've got the officer, but then we also have the ER physician, which is, they're coming at it at different angle kind of things. And so did you have to do any kind of special research, or did you learn anything that you brought into this that you went, oh, wow, yes, this is going to be included in it?
Well, yes, this one actually required a lot more research than is typical for me. In general, law enforcement procedures are not that different from agency to agency. Each agency has its specific details, specific protocols, but the general procedures are the same, because everyone is adhering to the same rules, whether it's state law or federal law. So I've always been able to pretty much manage to write intelligently, I hope, based on my background. Since the hero of this book, Special Agent Decker, is a DEA agent, though I did reach out to some contacts I had in the DEA when I had some specific questions about DEA protocol and how they would handle certain situations, like going into a high-risk drug search warrant. I wanted some details, so I did talk to a DEA agent. The medical stuff was really a heavy lift. Everything has to be just really precise, you know, especially in the ER. There are, just as in the federal agent world, there are very specific protocols to be followed to save a person's life, and very specific things to be done when somebody is rolled into the ER and everyone knows it's an opioid overdose. So gosh, I ended up interviewing this ER doctor twice from my local hospital. I talked to an anesthesiologist who's a personal friend of mine. Then I talked to a New York City Fire Department rescue paramedic. My editor's husband is a firefighter paramedic, so he was helpful as well. And then I talked to the head of security at a hospital out in Denver. I mean, the list just went on and on because, you know, you give me a badge and a gun and I know what to do and I know how to write it. But when you're talking about the medical world and the emergency room, that was just a foreign turf for me. And I had to spend a lot of time researching this book.
So in researching it, I'm kind of like to know your writing process of getting to that. Did you have to learn all of the like how the medical would work before you started writing the actual story, or did you write the story and said, okay, look up this, look up this, look up this? I mean, how did you do it? That would be an interesting like technical point of view.
Right. So I wrote, I'm not really a pantser. So when I start a book, I generally have an outline which can be up to 50 pages long, which is like a scene by scene outline. So first I'll write out how I want the story to go. What do I want to happen generally in the scenes? And then, so I knew I wanted scene one to open up with somebody being rolled into the ER, an officer who's been inadvertently overdosed on some nasty opioid cocktail during a search warrant. So I knew I wanted the excitement of that. And then I had to figure out, okay, how am I going to make this realistic? And how can I pepper in this conflict between this ER doctor and the DEA agent? You know, and how can I have them sort of bash heads, so to speak? And yet the backdrop has to be realistic medical protocol. So that came later. First came the outline, then came medical stuff.
Okay. I was curious about that because when you had said earlier that it took a lot of research because medical was not part of, you know, your past writing or actually in real life kind of, you know, experience. I think one of the great things about your books is that when I read them is that I can tell that you have a professional background in law enforcement, which it just shows. It's sort of like somebody who actually lives in Seattle talking about the way the way the air feels and the little things that happen. And I get that feeling when I read your books, which is I can understand why you probably threw the other one. Did you throw it in the sand or did you actually toss it in the ocean?
No, it was the sand.
Is it the sand?
Yeah, that was disappointing.
Yeah. Well, you know, you had to throw it somewhere. You couldn't throw it against a wall. You didn't have any walls there. So sand works, doesn't it?
But, you know, on the other hand, I suppose I should be thanking that author, whoever they were. And I honestly can't even remember, but I remember they were a pretty big name. So I should be thanking that author for basically jumpstarting my writing career.
Yeah. And you got a nice purple notebook out of it with words in it that have not been that have not become available for the rest of us to read.
Not yet.
But,
Hopefully one day. And I should say, I'm still very excited about getting this book published one day.
oh, okay.
Because, and here's the interesting thing, one of the oldest, most falling apart books on my bookshelf, I'm gonna see if I can grab it real fast and show you how ratty it is. This is Judith McNaught's Paradise. I don't know if y'all remember it. It's pretty old. You can see it's like falling apart because I've read it so many times. But the thing that always struck me the most about that book that I still love is the poignancy of the story. So when I wrote my first book, I said to myself, I want that. I want people to read it and think, wow, that just really touched me. That was really poignant. And I was really striving to recreate that emotion, that feeling. So I'm really hoping someday that book will get published.
Have you tried rewriting it or anything else, or did you just do it that in the beginning and you do go back and revisit it and think about, okay, now?
Yes. So this book now would probably be book 2 of a new series, like an FBI Strike Force series or something like that. So it's already been rewritten a little bit. So it should be better.
Okay. So it's something we can look forward to in the way out in the future, because it sounds like you're finishing, you're on this one and you're still finishing the series before that. So we've got lots that we want to expect from you soon because we're greedy.
Well, I'm going through edits on Federal Canine number 6. That's Honor and Duty. And I'm about 2/3 of the way through Fed Canine number 7, which is the last book in that series. And then I'll be jumping into book 2 of Canine Special Ops, which is Burning Justice. And I'll be doing a cover reveal, I think this Friday, for that book. And
when is it coming out? When is it scheduled?
Early 2023 for that one.
Okay.
And then after that, I'm contracted for a thriller series, which will be a little bit different. It's not going to be a romance series, but there might be a long-term romantic thread, kind of like Mulder and Scully or Bones and Seeley Booth, that kind of thing. So that could be fun.
Oh, that will be fun. Yeah. So it's not a romance thriller, it's a thriller with relationships kind of thing.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, there's this whole new genre called romance thrillers, and it's kind of like, are you romantic suspense? Are we just killing people? I don't know. Anyway, so I'm always intrigued to hear what are the books that are coming out in that, so that I know how to kind of categorize it in my own head. I like to categorize things in my head. But now we are ready to move into the scary part of the interview. Oh, no. These are going to be the fresh facts questions. So all you have to do, T, is answer it just like off the top of your head. Don't think about it too much. It's just, we're curious to learn more about you. It's sort of like our name game. Okay. You ready?
Ready.
All right. What is your favorite genre to read?
Romantic suspense.
Okay. What is a genre that you never want to read again?
I'm not sure there is one I never want to read. Even though I have my favorite, romantic suspense, I like rom-coms, I like contemporaries, I like paranormals, I like thrillers, I like adventure.
Okay. And what is your favorite time of the day to read?
Nighttime.
Nighttime? Okay. What is the favorite time of the day to write?
Morning.
Like this morning. Okay.
Absolutely.
So what do you do in the afternoon? No, just kidding.
So generally, I'm not good at sitting still. So in the morning is when I write, but after about 4 hours, I just have to get up and go do something. Of course, my dogs always need to go out, and so I'll take them out, I'll work out. Then maybe in the afternoon, I'll do some social media things, some promotional marketing stuff.
Yeah. I was going to say, you have two Belgian sheepdogs, right? Belgian sheepdogs, and they definitely need exercise. So that's probably what you do in the afternoon and also in the morning and also in the evening. I'm sure they don't leave. They always want attention from you. So when you are writing, what is your favorite writing fuel? What gets you going? What do you have to have?
Coffee.
Okay. Yeah. What is one luxury item that you can't live without?
In the summer, a pedicure.
Oh, yes.
A luxury item. Yeah, that popped into my head.
Mm-hmm. And you get the full one with the stones and the massage too, the whole 9 yards?
No, the place I go doesn't have stones, but they do a little massage, which is always nice.
Yeah. I love the stones. The stones are great. And the hot towels. I mean, it's like you could just fall asleep right there. Okay. How do you celebrate your new release? Like, how did you celebrate Tough Justice?
So release day was so busy. I can't really say there was time to, pop a bottle of champagne or anything like that. I did a lot of release day parties on Facebook, and there was a lot of social media activity. At some point after all the parties were done, though, I did have a vanilla pear martini.
Ooh, that sounds delicious. Okay, so in any of your books at all, except not your future ones that we don't know about, but in any of your books, is there any character or which of the characters would you want to be friends with?
I think all of the women would make great friends, and that's by design. I've tried to create heroines who are likable, whether they are police officers or they own a flower shop or they own a little cafe or they're an ER doctor. I always strive to make them relatable and likable so that everyone would want to be friends with them.
That's good, right? Okay, you already told us that you're not a pantser, but that you're more a plotter because you write 50-page outlines that are like scene by scene. Have you ever been a pantser? Has your process, have you flip-flopped from pantser to plotter, or have you even from the beginning start just the way your mind works and everything is, are you a plotter?
I've always been a plotter. I'm still a plotter. However, what I always find 100% of the time, meaning with every single book I've ever written, there is a point where I'll be writing a scene and something will pop into my head, whether it's a particular conversational track or, oh, wow, this is a great idea I hadn't thought of. I think they should go here, maybe instead of there. Otherwise, I still have a basic outline that I follow. It's just that my brain is not so rigid that it's not capable of adapting if something pops into my head that's better than what I'd originally plotted out.
That's good. Okay, and have you ever thought about collaborating with anybody? And if you have, who would be your dream writer collaborator?
I haven't. That's an interesting idea. I don't know. I suppose it would make sense to collaborate with other romantic suspense authors. Which ones? I don't know. I suppose it would depend on our goals. I know there are many big name authors who do collaborate and write some fantastic novels. I just don't know.
Yeah. Okay. And what's really interesting is one of the things we've been discussing in the past is that there are a lot of the writing organizations, especially the thriller one and I guess it's the thriller and the mystery ones, is that they'll have, when they're writing series, they'll have two authors write a story where both of their main characters are in the story and have to solve the mystery or the problem or the murder or whatever. So that's kind of an interesting thing. I would love to see that happen in romantic suspense, because I think that that's something that, you know, brings readers into both series, but also both authors that they may not have ever considered before. So if you ever get a chance to do that, you should try it and then let us all know about it.
I certainly will.
Okay, if a little bit here, if you got stuck in an elevator, with whom would you like to be stuck?
Well, I always like to shoot for the moon. So Henry Cavill. I heard he's kind of obviously extremely good looking, but I've also heard he's kind of nerdy and kind of a computer science geek. So I think there's a lot more to him than just a pretty face. I always thought Sean Connery would be interesting, and that's just because I'm a huge James Bond fan. I grew up watching all those Sean Connery Bond flicks with my dad. And we have all the old books, the old paperbacks that are about, you know, yay thick. So I always thought that would be interesting.
Oh, that sounds like that would be fun, I think. Okay, and is there anything that instantly can pull you out of a story or a movie or a book?
Oh God, yeah. So years ago, a friend of mine gave me a book about it's about Wyoming game wardens. And there were agents in that book who worked for the agency that I worked for. And within the first chapter or the prologue, the author got so many things wrong, like really basic things, like the make and model of the gun carried was completely off base, like crazy. The things they had these agents do, they would never ever do. I mean, the protocol was just completely way off base. And that just pulls me right out of the story. And then it has me questioning, you know, is the rest of the book worth reading?
Yeah, I can understand that. Okay, so before we're going to close, I'm going to do two things. We need to find out, where can readers find you online?
They can find me at tofallon.com, and I can put that in the chat room here for folks. And if you go there, you can sign up for newsletters. You can see books that I've already published. You can read the back covers, of course. You can see what's coming out shortly. And I usually have a contest running every month as well. Gosh, on Fresh Fiction.
That's true, you do. That's great. Okay, and then would you like to play the name game? Which is, what are you reading? What are you watching? What are you listening to?
I'm so glad you asked. I felt kind of left out before. So I went to Book Lovers Con in December, and I picked up a number of books. I picked up Wicked Cowboy Wolf by Kate Ballinger, and I thought she was a beautiful writer. I really appreciated reading that book. And I also started reading Never Let Me Fall by Abby Rhodes, and she just writes beautifully. And this is one of a series. She came up with something unique, which is, as we all know, very hard to do in any genre. So I really appreciated that. I just went to visit my brother in Maryland over the weekend, so I started listening on audio during the drive to Abigail Owen's Blood King. I haven't finished it. And another big surprise for me, another book I picked up at Book Lovers Con was Live and Let Chai by Bree Baker. It's the first book in her Seaside Cafe mystery series. And I thought that was really a really good book, and I enjoyed it.
Okay, good. Are you watching anything?
I'm currently rewatching Designated Survivor with Kiefer Sutherland. I've seen them all before. It's just been a while, so I thought I'd do it all over again. And I always DVR Chicago Fire, 911, and the 911 show that takes place in Texas. I really enjoy all those shows.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much. We're not going to ask you about the dog question because, okay, what do you think of as a canine service dog?
Well, okay, so obviously German Shepherd, Belgian Malinois. The Belgian Sheepdog is rare, but they are out there. Golden Retrievers, as we were talking about, people know them for search and rescue, for cadavers. Most people don't know that TSA, they have canines that walk through the passenger line at the airports. And those are generally not German Shepherds or the Malinois. And that's by design, because the agencies, for the canines that interact directly with passengers, the agency wants to try and get the breeds that passengers would find less scary. So they tend to be like I've seen German short-haired pointers. I've seen a couple of mixes, some smaller dogs, not the typical canines that you see. And in Burning Justice, in fact, the canine in that book is a Chesapeake Bay Retriever. And this dog is based on my work partner's dog who passed away very early in life from lymphoma. And this was a big dog, a very handsome dog. And I just decided, what the heck, I'm going to do something a little different. No Shepherds, no Malinois. And so you're going to see the Chesapeake Bay Retriever on the cover of Burning Justice.
Oh, but unfortunately for the ones who want it, no corgis, no, little schnauzers or whatever, right?
No, but I did have an idea to throw in a tiny little dog of some kind, like in an Italian story, and the dog would be Noki. So I might do that. I still have room in Federal Canine number 7, which is an Italian mafia story. So I might do that.
Okay. And the audience says, yes, they love it. They would love that. They would love that. Okay. Well, thank you. We're going to move into the Q&A, but now thank you so much, T, for joining us. And remember, everybody, you can go to tofallon.com. And I think when you sign up for her newsletter, I might be wrong, but I think you get a free story. So, free stories are always great. Yes. So they're always great. So thank you again very much, T, for joining us tonight. And now we're going to go into the Q&A.
You're so